From Everybody Studios, we're jumping off the pages of SouthPark Magazine as we bring the stories to life that make up the art and soul of Charlotte. This is SouthPark Says with Krisha Chachra. Well, pull up, turn it up, and take a seat. This is episode 1 of SouthPark Says with Krisha Chachra. Joining me today is Sunny Haralaka, founder of Social Queens Society, formerly CLT Social Queens, and Jennifer Bueno Hutchins, horticulturalist at UNC Charlotte and certified forest therapy guide. Thank you, ladies, for being here. We're talking about friendship and forest baths today. In this issue of SouthPark Magazine, it's the March issue that's up, we had several different articles to choose from. And what I thought was really interesting were the articles that you were featured in. And I just think that there's like some intersections that we can talk about today, but also just diving deep into what SouthPark says, what's important to us in SouthPark and in Charlotte and beyond. So first off, Sunny, I wanted to mention that you have so many great accolades, so many things that you're involved in bringing people together. And one of the articles, actually the article that I wrote in the March issue, and I have it here for everyone, please pick up a copy, the March issue for SouthPark Magazine, was about finding friends and why it's so difficult to do that as we age. I mean, things have changed since the days we just go outside and play with kids that are out there and chase fireflies and all of the things that, brought us together as friends. They're not there anymore. Why do you think it's so hard to find friends in Charlotte as we age, Sunny?
Well, I think growing up, we are in school and we're surrounded by people with commonalities and people around the same age. And then after college, it's just like, okay, now what? Now we're in the real world. How do we meet friends on our own without having them just handed to us or sitting beside us in class? So it's just difficult. And the older we get, the harder it is because we're busy with work. And now with, COVID happening and everything being isolated from everybody works from home now. People are feeling more lonely and it's just hard to make those connections and find our tribe. That's
right. And it's harder to make those connections too because of all the things that we have in terms of responsibilities. And especially as a woman, if you have kids, if you're a mom, if you are a spouse, you have so many other responsibilities. Our kids' parents, for instance, like we have, commonalities with them. Sometimes as they age and grow, we lose touch with those people. So tell me about why you started now, and remind me, the new name is now Social Queens Society. Yep. Tell me the impetus behind why you started that.
Yeah, so honestly, I feel like I'm a social butterfly, and there have been times that I felt alone, and which is crazy because I really feel like I could talk to a wall. But if I felt that way, I thought that maybe there were a few others that felt that way, and I just wanted to start a small little community and just see, and I wasn't the only one. There's a lot of people that feel alone, and that's why my events are come alone but never feel alone. Like it's so hard to go and show up by yourself, but I've had people do it and they've been so happy with the results. So that's the reason for the whole thing.
And how many people are part of the society now?
We have almost 250 women.
Wow, here in Charlotte.
Yes.
Okay, and how did you grow that organically, or is it a membership thing, word of mouth?
It's all word of mouth right now. So just I put stuff on my stories and then people tell their friends, and it's just kind of grown and evolved into what it is right now. So there is memberships that we're going to be having set up. So we're about to launch that, and they're all prepared for that so that we can have a new process for how we do our subgroups.
Okay.
So it will be streamlined.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about some of the events that you've actually had.
Yeah, so we've actually only had 3 official big events, but we also do small get-togethers. So we might go to the movies to see Wicked. We got a group together to do that. Or we might try a new restaurant, or we might go work out together at a gym. So we do a lot of smaller things, but our big groups, we just had our Galentine's one, which was great. So any event that I have that's with CLT Social Queens, which is now Social Queen Society, I should get that right.
Brand new, hot off the press. You heard it here first.
You did. They always have an activity. So as soon as you walk in the door, there's an activity to help you find people with commonalities. It's you.
Okay. So you walk in maybe alone, but you won't leave alone because you have things in place, games, sort of mixers, like fun things to connect people with. And how can they guarantee that they'll actually go home with like a phone number? It's almost like dating in a way.
It really is. Actually, the last event we had like a little bit of a speed dating, but friend type way. So what we did is we would go and talk to somebody for 2 minutes. I'd take your paper and I'd write down a compliment. I'd write down a suggestion, coffee date, question mark, and then I would sign it with my Instagram handle.
Oh, nice.
So people left with, I think, around 25 contacts.
Well, it turns out that we do need help with friendship. I mean, we're not doing a really great job at it. In fact, I have a couple of statistics that were in the article. Despite living in a world, honestly, where we are so connected through the internet, through social media, last year the WHO declared loneliness as a global public health concern. And the Surgeon General, our current Surgeon General, stated that feeling lonely is as dangerous as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. What do you think about that? As a someone who spends a lot of time outside, takes care of your health, what do you think about that, Jennifer?
That just blows my mind. I mean, just, something as simple as that can create such a negative on your own health and your well-being. I didn't know that. So
Being lonely. I mean, it's smoking 15 cigarettes or being alone. I mean, it starts to make me wonder too, I feel like as some of our parents are aging and they find themselves more isolated at home, I mean, this is a big health concern for them. So, starting out younger and trying to figure out how to create those partnerships and those connections and those relationships hopefully will serve us better later on in life. I mean, did you find that just people, what are the main things that people need in order to make friends?
I think it's just an open space to know that you have other people that are coming in there to do the same thing as you. So you don't have, I think some people are scared to say, I feel alone, or I don't have that community, I don't have a friend. But there's so many people, nobody's alone. And that's what I think makes this community beautiful, is because people will come. And some people still don't feel comfortable coming alone. So we have a process. So I'll meet them at the door, or one of our social queens that I know loves meeting new people too will come and meet them and make sure they feel welcomed. But they come and they leave and they say, I almost didn't come, but I am so glad that I did. And
Wow.
so it's
The space to just make those collisions in a way. So that's kind of what your role seems to be, is that you're creating spaces for people to be successful in making those connections. But then, when you're making the connections with people, you're thinking to yourself, well, this person is nice now. We're getting along. We're talking about things on the surface. But how do you get deeper with people? Are there any techniques that you would offer as a solution for that?
So a lot of times we'll have also like topic cards. And so it helps you really ask questions that make you think. So we've also done a bingo game where we've had 24 slots that say, find someone that's a morning or night person like you, find someone that has a hobby similar to yours, so you're finding people and you're discussing these deeper things that make you build this connection. So I feel like there's always a connection between me and the community, but I feel like the bigger purpose is for them to connect with each other and just finding that way. I hear people are speaking at each other's events. People are going to their birthdays to help celebrate their birthdays. They're hanging out outside of just our events. So they come once and they have deeper connections than I would have expected, which is amazing.
Wow, that's really cool. So how do you keep track of that? I mean, just for your own metrics to see how successful it is or how you need to tweak. I mean, is there a feedback loop where people are saying, oh, I found a friend. I have a new BFF. Or do you follow them on social media, or what is your feedback loop?
So I know each and every one of those ladies that are in the group.
Oh, okay.
I talk to them each before they join the group, and I talk to them at the events. And so I have that, back and forth communication with them through social media primarily. And I also do a survey at the end of the events just to see how people felt about it, how it went. I get testimonials because I just want to know how people are feeling about it. So I've gotten some really good feedback, which is great.
Wow. And you said you had a personal stake in starting something like this. Is that, tell me a little bit about your background, and also you're very big in social media. So I want to know a little bit about how you spend your time besides connecting people through your organization.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, I'm single, I'm 36, and I have friends. I have some great friends, but they're all moving away or caught up with everyday life things. And I can't, as much as I want to be like, hey, can I third wheel and join the family? It's more like I need to have my own community as well. And really, I have felt alone a lot. So by doing this, it's changed it has changed my life, and everything's been a lot better. I also started doing social media management, so that's my business. So that's what I do day to day is help manage social media management for people's accounts, from LASIK surgeons to gyms to real estate agents. So,
Really? Well, you can plug yourself. What is the name of the company?
Always Sunny.
Always Sunny.
SUNNI.
Aw, your name worked out for you.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Well, so that's great, Sunny. So you definitely do your social media work, but this is something that you feel like this is your way of giving back to the community in a way.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I've heard people say that it changed their life, or that they've lived here for 2 years and they've been feeling depressed and just down, but now they feel like they're getting back in the groove of things because they have a community and they have people to do things with and talk about things. That's the whole reason and the whole purpose of this group.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, once you do find people and you connect with them, you want to try to take it further, maybe do events and other things outside of just, what's organized, but find, how you can spend time together to sort of coax out that mutual interest that you might have together. One of the ladies that I interviewed in the article besides you mentioned she also found herself struggling in finding friends, and she doesn't necessarily want to go to a mixer, or she's, in that age category where she loses energy in the evening. But at 5 o'clock, I hang it up and I want to just like relax and I want to watch a movie. Don't want to go outside. I need my time. But she was mentioning how she had such a robust social life until after her kids grew up and left the nest. And then she lost her friends because of that. I mean, they either retired or they went away, and, their children who are now dating and getting married and maybe having grandchildren. So she said, I don't want a lot of friends because I just don't have the energy for that. I just want quality. So we were talking a little bit about this, and it was something that I was really fixated on because I thought, as we age, it's not so much like, hey, let's go play in the sandbox and build something or create a play or whatever, or sing a couple of songs together. It's more like, how do we gauge depth in friendship, basically, is the question. And if you have any ideas, on that, Jennifer, you can share with us.
Well, I mean, building a friendship takes time. It takes work. It's not to be one-sided. So just getting to know that person, ask the questions, be nosy. Like I usually never have a problem asking, oh, are you interested in this? And if you find a topic, and sometimes like depending where you're located, oh, I visited this place, or I love this type of food. I mean, I'm a foodie.
Yeah.
So if anybody's talking about food, you're my friend. So it's just trying to ask those questions that, okay, this is where our commonality is, and maybe we can build off of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have anything to add, or?
Yeah. No, and I think that that's a great point because we have subgroups within our community. So
Right.
like if there's someone that wants to do a fitness group, or there's a book club, there's all different kinds of groups. And when you start joining those groups, you guys are both similar in that aspect. Our group is also age 30 plus. And I don't know how, but I feel like I always say my audience is me. And I feel like every woman that steps in there has similarities to each other and us, and it helps start that. But it is hard to find, it takes, I think, on average 50 hours to spend with somebody to know that you guys are going to be a good friend.
Really?
So-
50 hours. Yeah. So it's going back to what you said. I mean, friendship takes time and work, just like anything of good quality. But yeah, I think one of the things that I had put in the article, because I used to actually teach interpersonal communications and dating and relationships, but mainly more focusing on relationship building in the professional environment. And one of the things that I remember my father telling me when I was really young that I actually, taught to my students. So interest is the sincerest form of respect. And everyone wants to feel respect. That's like a base human requirement and need between each other. So the easiest way to show respect is to show interest, and asking a question breaks down those barriers and it automatically conveys respect. And so you automatically then feel enveloped by that person. And it's the quickest, easiest tactic, and has served me well in my whole life, just to ask questions and to maintain, that sort of commonality and that interest. and then build a relationship. So I think that you're right. I mean, there's a tendency for us, however, to feel like when people are asking us questions, they're being nosy. I think in this culture especially, but it is one of those tactics and really great communication skills, if you will, that is the base in building friendships. And is that what you've found? Have you experienced that in your, yes.
And sometimes it takes practice. Like growing up, I was kind of shy.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to kind of push myself. Okay, I asked this person a couple questions and that didn't turn out very well. Let me try again. And so I think repetition and practice just helps you be a better all-around person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. And making your friends feel seen and heard. I think that that's kind of what you were saying, and just knowing that you're there for them. And hey, I'm sorry, I haven't talked to you in a while. I just want to follow up and see how you were doing. Just asking and making sure you're checking in is huge, I think, for.
That is, even if it's just a text message,
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, I was just thinking about you, or, I just want to know how you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it doesn't have to require like an hour of your time. Of
Right.
course, that would be beautiful if you could
Mm-hmm.
just give that amount of time to share.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. My guests today are Sunny Haralalka and Jennifer Bueno Hutchins, both here to talk about friendship and forest baths. You're listening to SouthPark Says with Krisha Chachra. So I wanted to follow up with that too, because we were talking about interest as the sincerest form of respect, but we also have to gauge the potential friend's capacity to give us the time that we are about to put into them, right? And one of the other things that we touched upon in the article is this idea of making friends slowly, because when we were young, we would always like run out and, just, oh, I just met my best friend. Or even with guys, like when we were younger, like when you're dating, you tend to, when things are clicking, like, oh, I love pepperoni on my pizza. I do too. Wow, we're made for each other, So things click and, you're off to the races. But I think when you're older and you're trying to gauge that level of quality, you really, really need to also go slowly so you can figure out if the person that you really want to share like a lot of experiences with has the capacity to give that back. Because haven't we all been in relationships where we're giving, and we're just not receiving back of no fault of that other person, just that they're not there yet. They just don't have the capacity. So I personally call it the slow friend movement, which I think it might be a book idea for me down the road. But, the slow food movement, the slow, there's so many slow movements, right? But why don't we take the time, to actually get to know someone slowly? I mean, has that worked out for you at all, either of you?
Yeah. Yes and no. I think there's boundaries in every relationship. You've got to set boundaries. And I think I have been in friendships that where I felt like it was draining. I was giving, and they, and then I have to think about my own capacity and what I can handle.
Right.
And I have to set that boundary and say, I'm here for you, but I kind of need to be here for myself too. So that's I think that kind of goes hand in hand in like developing those relationships. Now slowly developing them. I almost feel like I can intuitively feel like I know who my friends are going to be when I meet them, if that makes sense.
Do you have clues? Like, are there some tells that you use?
Yeah, I feel like we just vibe really well. It's just like a good vibe, and you can see their energy, you can see their heart a little bit, and I feel like then I'll start, kind of trusting them. And that's what I think when you're going slow, you want to know how much information. Can I tell them everything about my life, or do I need to? Am I going to be judged?
Right, or dial it back because it's hard to be vulnerable too with someone you just met. I mean, Brene talks about that all the time. But yeah, I mean, just being vulnerable and, being able to match what you disclose. You don't want to go out there and tell your life story if like the only thing you're getting back is my favorite color is blue, Right. So, yeah. Did you have something to say about that, Jennifer?
I just know, I guess I'm the type of personality where I've been told I'm a good listener. So, like if I'm sitting on the bus or sitting at, public space, it's almost like you have somebody sit down and they'll just start talking and you're like, oh, okay, all right. I see this connection.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's just recognizing patience. I think a lot
Patience.
of it has to do with patience because
Yeah.
everybody wants this instant, like, all right, I want this. Let's get through all the formalities and get to the bones of it. And it's like, you can't always do that. I like that slower pace.
Right. And it doesn't necessarily have to mean, slow in terms of a timeline. It just means like slowly disclose, slowly like put some information out there, slowly invite people to something else besides coffee and see if they come, matching sort of the expectations so that, you're not disappointed because you're putting in so much time and effort. And then they're canceling on you, on a whim, and you realize like, oh gosh, that really hurt. I mean, I've done this, and this so far with them, and they don't match that level of investment or energy.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean so much. I mean, it can be a very fast timeline, but just like slowly putting yourself in positions of opportunity where they reveal themselves.
I do kind of do that too. So it's like when I'm first inviting people to things, I don't know if they're going to show up or not. And I
Right.
don't hold those expectations to them yet. And I don't invite them to the most important things either. So it's just like getting to know them and how, like you said, slowly seeing how much you can trust and if it's a mutual
Right.
back and forth friendship.
Right. What they're willing to give, and if that, and you can match that, because anything above or below equals disappointment eventually down the road. I mean, that's like at least my sort of, I don't know, I guess that's my experience with that. So I'm just wondering if like that's, another way that you all have found to gauge quality in people, just to see, quality friendships in people. Yeah. The other thing is following up too. I mean, following up, showing up, like that's a big signal about whether someone is willing to be a quality friend with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that we've touched upon a lot here. Obviously, there's more events coming up for Social Queens Society. That's right, Social Queen Society. Is there anything that you want to talk about in terms of what you have on the horizon? You're rebranding, obviously.
Yes, we're rebranding. I have a fun event that I'm working with somebody that owns 21 Airbnbs around Charlotte.
Wow.
So we have a couple fun events. One, I want to find the hidden content creators in our community. So we're going to have a little fun challenge and partner with some local businesses and help, I'm going to do a social media course for them and then have them, have little challenges to see who the hidden content creators are, because I know that we have a few of them in our community. And then we're going to do an outdoor picnic. We're going to do a lot of fun things. We're going to go on a boat day. So we have a lot of fun things.
Oh,
coming
cool.
up.
Okay, so if anyone wants to participate, let us know. Where can we find you? What are all of your handles? Here's the opportunity to get people to join.
So my main one is at Sunita Gabrielle. It's SUNITA GABRIELLE. And then I have my Always Sunny _CLT and the CLT Social Queens, which will soon be changed. So make sure to follow on one of the other accounts as well so you can see the new name.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sunny. And if you want any more information or if you didn't get all of that, you can always pick up a copy of the March issue of SouthPark Magazine. Page 80 has her social handles and all of the information about joining the organization and finding your new friends.
Yes, come on out.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we talked about following up. We talked about slow friendship. We talked about being sincerely interested. And all of that is a recipe, hopefully, to bloom your relationships. And speaking of blooming, we have, and blossoming, we have Jennifer here who leads a group of into forest to bathe, my goodness, in the energy among them. Now, that is so interesting. I was like, when I heard about this article, I was like, this is definitely something we need to talk about. It's an article by Katie Toussaint. And tell us, how are you bathing in forests?
Well, the concept started back in Japan, where society was transitioning into technological, and they're staying indoors. So the government noticed a lot of people were getting sick because of spending all their time inside, cloistered, not going out, not socializing. And so there was an uptick in illnesses, like really serious ones like cancer and autoimmune diseases. So the government said, okay, we need to do something about this. So there was one particular study group that asked the question, what happens when humans are kind of put into natural settings, into forest settings.
Mm-hmm.
So we as humans have this really great relationship because our ancestors involved around forests. So forests actually, like trees, keep themselves really healthy relatively because they create this chemical called phytoncides.
Phytoncides.
Yes. So like if they are being attacked by insects, by diseases, they create more of this, kind of like a white blood cell for them. And it attacks all that's attacking them, and it keeps them very healthy. Well, since humans evolved in the forest, we also, as we absorb these chemicals, whether we're inhaling them, whether we are like absorbing them through our skin, we create a white blood cell as well that fights these diseases. And so just spending, even 15 minutes in nature allows, like, it helps not only your mental and physical well-being, but just your overall health, especially like autoimmune diseases. So when I forgot your question already.
No, but that's so. No, I mean, I'm just mesmerized. Like
I'm so
I'm.
excited
Yeah, I
about
feel like
this.
I'm just like taking in the chemical just from talking to you.
Oh,
So, no. But I mean, basically, like, how do trees make you healthy? And you're saying this, like, they give off this chemical, and if you're sitting in the radius of the chemical,
trees are plants in general.
Okay, well, we have one behind us. Thank goodness. So,
yes.
yeah.
Folks just don't realize just spending time outdoors, it builds your immune system. It just changes. I mean, the whole goal behind forest therapy is to help your health and well-being. And it's creating, and this is where I see our connection here, in creating healthy relationships. People think, oh, I'm just, creating this relationship with myself or just, Mother Nature, this tree, but you forget that you're also creating a relationship with the people around you. I started out in corporate America and was there for 15 years, and I really burnt myself out. And I know a lot of people do that, between your career, your home life, maybe you're taking care of kids, taking care of your parents, and you just have no time for yourself. And so I found out I was depleting myself. I had nothing in my own cup to provide for everybody else. And I knew that if I didn't make a change, my health was going to go downhill fast. So I went back to school, got my horticulture degree because I had always had a love of the outdoors. I mean, ever since I can remember, just being out there in the woods or just riding bikes with friends, it was my thing. And I started spending more time outside because, of course, with the classes that you take, you are obviously outside,
right,
studying trees, studying plants. And the difference in my health was like night and day. I wish I could tell, like, my doctor was like, what are you doing?
Really?
Because now you're off of this medication, this medication, this medication. What are you doing? I said, I'm just spending time outside. It was natural. It's like, I want to tell everybody this is amazing. Because I supervise students at the gardens. So I see, like, I can gauge what time in the semester it is just by the looks on the faces of the students.
Oh, wow.
Because they are so stressed out and overwhelmed. They have projects, presentations to put together. And it's like, hey, why don't you come out? Just take like half hour. Come on out and I will walk you through a little walk here. And just the difference it makes. And I cannot tell these students enough, like, don't cloister yourself. Be outside with friends. You want those connections because think of it this way. The forest is like a community of different plants and trees and animals, and they all like coincide together. They all work together. That's nothing different with the human world. Like, you need those connections because you are not your own island. You're not, you can romanticize about being the lone wolf, but you really need those connections.
Right. Even the lone wolf is surrounded.
Right.
So that's true. So that's
Right.
so interesting. So you can definitely see that on the faces of your students that they need like that, that walk outside or that vitamin D, as they say, like go outside
Or
and get
pressing
some.
pause on their lives. And I
Right.
think sometimes people need that permission.
Yeah, just to
They
go
think, wait a minute,
outside.
I can do this?
Yeah.
Do I have time? Hold on, let me see. And it's like, well, what's more important? Worrying about, extra 5, 15, 30 minutes about what needs to be done, or just giving yourself a pause so that you can be tuned into the present moment of what's around you.
Yeah, absolutely. And how long do you think? How long does it take when you take people on these forest therapy sessions and bathe in the trees and the chemicals and the good energy, all of that stuff? Like I feel like we need like a sound a sound bowl, yeah, while we're talking about this because I feel like I'm in the mood. But go ahead, tell me about like how long does it take in order for it to work? And how long are your sessions when you take them out?
So, when I trained with the Association of Forest and Nature Therapy, they had the program set up for 3 hours.
Okay.
Now, I know not everybody has 3 hours.
Mm.
And, one of my forest therapy walks is actually 3. But I also have shorter instances, like Gratitude in the Gardens is another one. It's 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I have given classes just a 1 hour.
Oh, okay.
And for them, they just think, oh, what are we going to do in 1 hour?
Yeah.
And it's amazing, especially if they are all in. If they just like, I call it, if they have the courage, like to, make friends, they have the courage to just go ahead and take the step. Like, is this really going to help me? Well, I won't know until I try it.
Yeah.
And they find out that it has helped them tremendously. Like I've had professors tell me, like, at the beginning of this class, they had students that never talked to each other. After this class, after this walk, they end up becoming friends, and they are building a bond with one another because they've had that shared experience.
Wow.
I mean, it's amazing.
And a shared experience that's not very costly.
Yeah.
Right.
And do you lead? Is it like a silence walkthrough? Do you lead like a?
So when we start, it's through immersive experiences. I call them invitations. So when we start, we do an introduction. Hey, let's get to know everybody, and then I go into a grounding exercise just to get everybody settled. Because I call it monkey mind. You're too busy thinking about what's going
Yes,
on. And what
we all
needs to be
have
done.
that.
This helps them. Okay. Let me go through this portal. Let me relax, take some deep breaths, listen to what is around me or see what's around me. And then we go into invitations, which are about 15, 20 minutes. And, they could be very open-ended. One of my favorite invitations that the students really love is find your secret hiding place. You are allowed to go off-roading. When I say off, I like going off the trail, and find a place that you feel safe, that you feel like this is my little secret spot, and sit there a while. And many people, they'll find a tree. We have lots of trees, of course, to sit next to, or they find like a little, like a boulder in the stream that goes through both gardens. It's very interesting to see and very creative because I think with this, what do you call it? This releasing of what you think you should be doing, people get creative and they go back to their childhood. And, I've had some of them say, I used to do this as a kid, and they would take off their shoes and socks and just go wading through the stream.
Wow. Very therapeutic for sure.
It is.
Maybe you should have one of your social queens
Yeah.
events out in the woods.
We will. I know, this sounds awesome. I'm like, I need this right now.
Yeah. No, it's true because we get in so much of routine. And I think when you actually change your environment, like you said, like extricate yourself from the classroom, go outside for a few minutes, your brain starts snapping again. It starts like getting alert because it's not in that routine of, okay, now I'm going to take my test. Now I'm going to go to my next class. Now I'm going to do this, answer emails and blah, blah, blah. But I mean, I say as a travel writer, I say the same thing about traveling. Take a new way to work, because that's actually traveling outside of your everyday, and it makes you perk up and you notice like, oh, I didn't know that there was, a Lowe's over here or stop, like a store over here, or, I just ran through that stop sign, and, that kind of thing. And, because when you take that same route to work, you're on autopilot really. So I think that's what you were saying. So how is this different than hiking, actually? Because a lot of people hike. So how is it different than hiking?
Well, it's not exercise. In fact, you're doing the opposite. The idea is to slow down because oh my gosh, I think this world just keeps going faster and faster paced, and it's hard to keep up. I think you're just trying to keep up. And this allows you to slow down and to notice what's around you. Just like when you said you're taking a different route, you're noticing what's around you because you're so busy going from point A to point B, like from your car to your office or your class, that you don't even know what's around you because you're so caught up in your thinking in your head, like this is what I have to do. And meanwhile, you're missing maybe a wonderful sunrise, or, seeing another friend like off in the distance that you haven't seen in a while. It's just the idea of noticing what's around you or listening. Many people don't, I was trying to remember. One student said, "What's that sound?" This was during one of the walks. And here it was a bird. He had never heard this bird chirp before. I think these walks are just, just having a moment just to breathe.
Right.
My mother used to tell me all the time, breathe, because when I would get nervous or scared, I'd hold my breath. And I didn't even realize I was doing that.
Wow. Just breathe.
Just breathe.
Oh, that's a lesson we can all use.
Yes.
Just breathe. So tell us really quickly, we're going to have to wrap it up here soon, but tell us really quickly, where do you lead these sessions and how much do they cost?
So we have 2 walks at the beginning of the month. First Saturday of the month is called the Nature Therapy Walk, and that runs about I'll say $40, but it's free for students and campus community. And then on the first Sunday of the month, we have Gratitude in the Gardens. It's a 2-hour walk, and that runs about $30. But if you're a garden member, you get a discount. But in all honesty, it's like, can you put a price on like your health and well-being? So
yeah. Worth the investment. Definitely worth the investment. Yeah. And then if you can't do these sessions because of various reasons,
you can call me, or you can contact us at the Botanical Gardens through the website. And I have done sessions outside of the normal walk times. And then I also, depending on who it is, sometimes I'll provide them some information, like, here, try nature journaling. And I will provide them like a journal and some prompts. Because sometimes all you have is 15 minutes. And
right.
It's 15 minutes well-deserved of your health.
Right,
yeah.
Right.
Now, can you get the same benefit, you think, because I live near the city, if I just went outside and took...
Absolutely, yes. Thank you. I mean, you can go to your local park. You can go outside, like your back door. I mean, I remember my teacher telling me when she first learned about guiding walks, the founder of the ANFT said they didn't have a park, but they had a couple trees in the parking lot. And so he brought the class to these trees and guided a walk just with that. So it's
beautiful. Yeah. And I'm sure, we can all do this on our own if we recognize and be intentional about the health benefits. But I think maybe going with you with a guided tour also has that added benefit of youth and the connections and creating relationships through nature and through being intentional by going to one of your organizations. So it would be really cool if
It
you
would
guys
be.
team
Yeah,
up here.
we should.
Love it. Love it. We're even making friends
Definitely.
here,
Right.
here in everybody's studio. So, well, thank you both, ladies, for being such a big part of our magazine this month, but also for sharing more in depth about your stories and your passions today. I really appreciate it. And all of you, thanks for listening. Please make sure you pick up a copy of the March issue of SouthPark Magazine and read about these stories and also other ones about the art, soul, culture, and travel that we talk about here in Charlotte.